on this very cold London Thursday, and welcome to For the Record with DJ Abass. This week we decided to go very extra special, and I'm going to be having a sit down with two very important African creatives. They've been right at the top of their game for between 2 to 3 decades, depending on how they decide to plug it in. I've known of them for forever. People actually admire, and I just thought, yeah, today let's do a very special edition. First guest on the show is an architect, and he'll get to explain it better, but I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Tokwe Abolide, architect, event designer, and balloonist. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you very much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've known you for forever.
Yeah.
Partly in a professional capacity as well, and I've always, even as far back as I'm thinking, how does this man do this thing he does with balloons, It's because it's something you just think, it's a balloon, really. It's a balloon. But what you do with balloons, and knowing you also now made me realize it's actually quite a very huge industry, much bigger than I ever imagined. And we'll talk about your journey into that. So thanks for coming on the show.
No, it's my pleasure.
So, first thing I'll ask is, how did you get into the balloon game?
Yeah, that's the
and you
question.
probably have a life before that, but
Yeah.
how did you get into the balloon game?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier I studied architecture
Yes.
at University of Lagos.
Okay.
And it started while I was in university, and it was just something you do then to earn a little bit of extra cash,
And how did you do that then?
Well, my roommate then,
He was in Nigeria, right?
he was in Nigeria
Yeah.
at the moment. He's a landscape architect as well. We were classmates, but we were also roommates.
Okay.
And he just said to me, look, I've got this wedding to do. Do you want to come help out?
When was this, if you don't mind me?
This was my, I think, 3rd year in university.
Okay.
Yeah.
90s? 80s?
Yeah. 88-ish,
okay.
thereabouts. And so he just said, yeah, come around. So I went over, we put some things together, we did this wedding, it was a success. And yeah, it just sort of started building on from there, because we made
So what would you do at the time? Just kind of blow balloons and hang them up?
Well, interestingly, it wasn't balloons then.
Okay.
It was just anything we could lay our hands on. Being students of architecture, we could make anything.
Okay.
So we would
event
make,
designing,
yes,
so to say.
yes. So we would use fabric, we would use, we'd make these really huge, large fans. Just really, paper, anything to decorate the balloons were not, I didn't know about balloons then. And so right after I graduated, I came over to live in London, and I went to my first wedding within like 4 weeks of arriving here.
Nigerian wedding?
Yeah, it was a Nigerian
Okay.
wedding. It could well have been Lagos, I tell
Okay.
you.
No, trust me, we'll move with all our baggages.
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. And so the first 4 weeks, I went to this wedding. I saw this beautiful balloon arch, and I thought, wow, I can do this. I'm pretty sure.
But you had never done it at the time.
I'd never done it.
Okay.
I'd never done it. So I went to start to find out, how do you get on, how do you, get to learn about this. And I went to the flower market, which was in Vauxhall, met a chap called Danny.
Okay.
And of course, I remember his name, Danny, in Eltham. And he just showed me 3 hours. He just said, this is how you make a column, this is how you make an arch, this is how you make a bow. And that's where my journey started, really.
An arch, a column, and a bow.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 3 hours.
Okay.
Everything. He showed me.
Did you
in 3
pay for that?
hours. Yeah,
material?
I paid £50.
Okay.
Yeah, I paid £50 for that. And since then, I've just sort of, because when I do things, I go head first.
Okay.
And so after that, I did a few weddings here and there. And I just decided to find out what seminar I could attend. And the first one I saw was the European Balloon Convention in Paris.
Okay.
So I went for that, Couldn't afford it, still don't know how I did it.
I'm thinking then, because I probably met you probably sometime in the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah, late, it must have
or
been.
early millennium, thereabout,
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
at that time, you had come into your own, because
Yeah.
it's like, So they'll say, oh, DJ Abass, you play those. So Dr. Abolude is the one doing the balloons of Lagos. Your name was like, kind of like out there. So you had pretty much arrived at the time, you know. So I'm thinking.
Oh, I don't think I've arrived even now.
No. Well, as in you were a brand at the time.
Yeah.
And at that time,
Yeah.
that far back, what you were doing I had never seen anywhere. Ever. You know. So I'm thinking if you were able to do so much at that time, you know, because you were so far ahead, you know, and it was just, I don't even like to describe you as a balloonist. It's like I'm shortchanging you if I, you know, that's how I could say it's an architect.
Well, I'm a designer.
Exactly.
You know, and I would use anything, you know, so it's just balloons was a medium I chose to use to express my art and my designs. So that's the way I see it.
Do you feel more people probably introduce you as a balloonist as opposed to an event designer within our community, so to say?
I think a lot of people like labels. They put labels and stuff like that.
Human nature,
yeah, it's human nature. I just don't.
Are you cool with that?
I don't mind it.
Okay.
You know, I know who I am.
But does it limit you in a way?
No, absolutely not.
It doesn't.
I think the key thing is here knowing who I am.
Okay.
You know, and what I bring to the table. And if you then don't.
I mean, in terms of business, because I would, and even in doing this program, you know, and I just realized I went on your page and okay, you know, event designer, okay, that covers everything, really, you know, and the balloon is just an aspect because obviously you clearly do much more, more than that. But for me, the balloon, what you've done with balloons is like, wow, it's wow. And I put it on the page, oh, it's coming on the show. I go like, oh my God, that guy, you know, he does stuff, you know. You came from Nigeria to the UK.
Yes.
Has your job taken you back to Nigeria at any point?
Yeah, I work in Nigeria often.
Okay.
I do. I mean, obviously not everyone can afford it, but you know, when I sometimes we can,
or they can afford you, or is it a bit of both?
I do. I try not to look at the. It's. No, I'm not expensive because obviously people bring me out
exactly,
to do it.
You'd be out of work if you're expensive.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people.
But you know, when you look at it as well, expensive is relative, isn't it?
Very,
you know, so it's like, yeah, some people may not be able to afford it,
indeed,
and I, you know, I get that, and I would help them in as much as I can. Probably send them to people because I've got staff in Nigeria now who have worked with me for so many years. So if someone called me and said, would like something, but we can afford to pay for a ticket to go, I would say, look, I've got a couple of people who would do something for you.
Which is more challenging, an event in Nigeria or here? Events in Nigeria tend to be much bigger.
Yes.
I go to events in Nigeria and I see huge columns of drapes, and I'm thinking like, how did they accomplish this? You know, I never see events like that in the UK. You know, the average size event in the UK is probably 200 to 250, maximum 300 on average. Yeah. So, which is Nigeria more challenging?
I think the challenge in Nigeria, the challenges I've faced in Nigeria with events have to do mostly with timekeeping.
Okay.
You know, so if you ask staff to turn up at a particular time, you know, you may not get them turning up at that time. Okay. You know, so that I find that quite challenging because, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I'm a stickler for time. You know, it's very important to me. It's something. It's a currency that, no matter how rich you are or how poor you are, we've got the same. Yeah, it's 24 hours in a day. You've got it. You know,
how do you use it?
How do you use it? And that for me is very important. You know, so yeah, that's a major challenge I have working in Nigeria.
And in terms of the industry, in the last 20 years, it appears the events industry has exploded.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And you go just on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, people are doing amazing things, you know. And it's like the creative juice. And I tell everybody, I even tell people I know in government, I say, look, you know what a lot of people are asking, especially young people, you just want to be empowered, enabled, you know, make data free, make some things available and watch them flourish. So
absolutely.
The entertainment and events, you know, industry sector has done very, very well. Now, if you were based in Nigeria, and you're doing great here, but if you were based in Nigeria, what would you be doing differently?
What would I be doing differently? I think I will be training probably a lot more.
Okay. You
so
have a school, a college of some sort, or you do You do train?
I do train. I do seminars,
Okay.
one-on-ones and stuff like that. I do that even here around the world. But I think in Nigeria, I think we need to get more people to understand that it's an art, and you have to work it for it to work. So it's not just about, attending a seminar once and thinking that you're a professional.
Okay.
I think part of my longevity in the business has been to do with constantly reinventing myself.
At every point.
At every point, seeing what needs to change. How do I move into the next, how do I move into the next?
It's allowed, don't worry.
I'm so sorry. Shall I just put it off?
No,
yeah.
You have 5 seconds. That's the beauty of the kind of show we do. So, we can get away with it here. Okay. It's fine.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So, you were saying?
Yeah. So,
training.
Yeah, training is very key, and I talked about reinventing oneself, which is something I believe we need to do a lot as Nigerians. And interestingly, you're bringing that up.
And that was a while back. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, this was 2010 for the World Balloon Convention in Texas.
Is that like the Oscars of the
that's the Academy Awards of the balloon industry.
And that's the kind of impression that, because I said, like, this guy is a big guy. This guy is doing big stuff. Or this guy has been doing. He's going to the Oscar of balloons, and I think he did something in Eastern Europe at the time as well.
Yeah.
Something around then.
Yeah.
But this is humongous.
Yeah.
How long would it take to put that together?
I had a really good team working with me on this.
You took them from the UK?
No.
Okay.
Because obviously we're working at the World Balloon Convention. Every who in the balloon industry in the world attended. You have the Canadians, you have the British, the Taiwanese, the Japanese, and stuff like that.
Who are naturally also
very good,
creative people.
Very creative. And what I did or do when I've got this type of projects is I've formed a good network around the world.
Okay.
So I can put a team together, and you have also they've got staff who come in and will help make sure the event is delivered on time.
So what happens at the convention? It's just like all balloonists come and you just do your stuff and
it's a seminar. It's seminars and competitions.
Okay.
And that's how when I started, what got me noticed was the first few years I was doing competitions.
Okay.
Yeah, and I won a few of them. So that just sort of gets your name out there, gets people notice you, and
That for somebody's.
This was for a bat mitzvah. As a Jewish bat mitzvah for a girls' event. Was it last year or it was last year, I think. Yeah.
Out of the top of your head,
yes.
How much would this cost? Can you let that cut out of the bag? Just this segment, and I know this is just like an entrance, is it, into the main? How much would that cost?
This was just the entrance.
Can you how many zeros?
Respect to the person who paid for it. Okay. I sort of maintain a confidentiality. Yeah.
I thought maybe I could just drag that out. Yeah. But this is awesome.
Yeah, it was.
The first thing I also learned, because I'm an events person as well, and when I started going to Nigeria, especially to the big events, I just realized that perhaps it's because fast backtrack. There was a time I went to Nigeria to do an event, and a photographer from the UK was also engaged, and it was his first time he was going to Nigeria, so he gave them a quote. And the day we arrived, we went to check out the event. He realized, I've given them the wrong photo. I would need extra hands to cover this and that. So I think in Nigeria lends itself to a lot of size.
Yeah.
And this is something I would see perhaps more in Nigeria than here in terms of the sizing of it. So I'm thinking, this is quite.
Yeah, I sometimes work with the event organizers, and it's really good sometimes because they can be the middleman between me and the client, and so I just give him my quote.
What percentage of you being an architect helps with this?
Oh, a lot, because 6 years of design.
Okay.
You know, I spent 6 years learning the principles and elements of design, which actually runs right through every sort of creative industry.
Indeed, yeah.
You know, I know you're going to be speaking to Mr. Jones
Yes,
later,
indeed,
and
yeah.
you know, I'm pretty sure he touched
Very
on
much so, yeah.
the principles and elements of design
Yes.
in when he was studying
Indeed,
as well.
yeah.
So that carries a really big part somewhere there in my head. So things that people who come into the balloon industry, I take those things for granted because it's just a part and parcel of me. I can look at something.
Is that the edge you have?
I would say so, you know. I would say it's an edge for me. You know, being able to look at something, know if the coloring is correct, the massing of the different objects, if it's correct, texture, understanding texture, use
Can you
of
teach
color.
that?
You can teach it, but, you know, obviously, like I said, I studied it for 6 years. It kept being pounded into me through my master's degree, from my first degree through my master's degree. So it just comes naturally at some point, yes.
Yeah.
But you can teach it.
How much of that can you impart into a student coming to you to say, okay, you know what, I want to dedicate 6 months of my life to hanging around you, learning this? How much of that can you impart into them?
You can impart. It's then up to that student to go on learning.
Fly from there.
Yeah. I never stop learning. You know, if you give me 5 minutes with Mr. Jones, I'm gonna milk him for what what he's got. You know, in terms of experience, knowledge. You know, and I would learn from anyone. You know, if we start talking about things, I would learn from you. You know, I see myself as a student always. I want to sap.
Is it a mentality to have in this game?
Oh, absolutely. I think not just in this game. You know it as well. In your industry,
you learn every day.
You learn every day. You're constantly finding out what's new. You know, I think the masters of today. You have to become students of tomorrow. Otherwise, you get left behind.
Oh, I'm gonna go and frame that and hang it. That makes a lot of sense. So now look at the events industry in the UK.
Yeah.
And you're well positioned in that industry. It's what's next? Because if I were to look at the eras, you know, we've just talked about, we've seen what you've been working well pretty much ahead of time. So, what would be your dream event?
I think a dream event for me would be probably something in Buckingham Palace.
What would you do there that they've not done before, without letting go in too much?
What would I do? I would bring my stamp into it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that, I mean, there have been great, designers in there. But what I tend to leave on my work is my stamp, a balloon inspirations experience. And that's I would leave a part of me there. My work will be remembered.
And you've done quite a lot of huge. Because I was trying to tell somebody, like, I said, I can't describe this guy enough.
You know, it's really interesting. A lot of people, because when they don't understand what I do. So when people introduce me and stuff, I just say, go and look on my Instagram page. Because that will
tell your story.
Yeah, that would tell,
I was just saying, I said, I can't describe this guy well enough, because it's so far. And also because I'm not just knowing you now, I've known you for quite.
You've seen me grow.
Yeah, you've seen me grow, and it's just like, at every point, it's just like,
something new, something different.
So are you? And the beauty in this game, creatives don't retire. That's the beauty of it. I was sneaking through Mr. Jones's page as well earlier today, and I saw him post something about Karl Lagerfeld. I think Karl died at 90 or 95. Or thereabout, He
was always working,
that man, till he died,
he was designing.
He was always on point. It almost, what, I'll probably get that when I see with Mr. Jones. So, but like you said, it's a thread running through creatives in terms of look and feel. So, in terms of all this knowledge you have right now, I want to zone in on how often do you do your training programs? And who can be eligible?
Well, I still get invited to seminars around the world. In fact, in next week, I'm supposed to go to the African Balloon Convention.
Okay.
Which is
the African Oscars.
Well, in Lagos.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happening in Lagos, and that's
Who's organizing that?
Is a lady called Mrs. Fumi Omoyele.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the industry too,
In the
obviously?
industry, yeah. She is doing a good job, and I sort of assisting her and bringing a couple of my friends from Asia. Well, one from Taiwan and one from Hong Kong. So, you know, just to let Nigerians see the possibilities as far as balloons are concerned. So even in the industry, there's people have special areas. You know, these guys really
Even
specialize.
in the balloon industry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They specialize with making sculptures and stuff like that. And you know, we want to give Nigerians a taste of what, you know, of different.
And for those residents in the UK who are watching now, who probably like to, what can they do? When is your next event, or how can they reach you?
You can always they can always contact me through Instagram.
Okay.
I respond to my messages.
Balloon Inspirations.
Balloon Inspirations. And you're
also on YouTube as
I'm
well,
on
I see it.
YouTube. I've got Facebook. I've got LinkedIn as well.
You're everywhere.
Yeah.
Just Google Tokwe Abulude, and you'll find all you need. I can't thank you enough for coming on.
No, it's
Thank
an
you
absolute
so
pleasure
much.
for having me.
I've always
Thank
wanted
you.
to do. I'm just thinking because my previous show before now was a music show.
Yes.
I always thought anytime once I start to do a show that's kind of like it's lifestyle, I have to sit down with this guy. You know, it's just. And thanks for coming.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you very much for having me.
Awesome. My next guest is another legend in the game. And trust me, the day he gave me an outfit, I will tell him how many times I've worn that outfit. I've not stopped. Maybe he's come with another one. Maybe he'll surprise me. We're going on a break. When we come back, we'll be meeting Mr. Jones. And we're back, and the program is still For the Record. Just had a brilliant sit down with Mr. Tokwe Abulude, an events designer, balloonist, and globally, internationally acclaimed creative. And from one creative to another, he's been described as the king of couture and the godfather of fashion, and someone I've always admired, you know, stylish, classy, Mr. Adebayo Jones.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be
To
here.
have you sitting down, and we've sat down on so many occasions, but this is just to have an insight, into you. First, well done.
Thank you.
I think at a time when the nation, Nigeria, at times, because we're going through tough times, and at times we get a lot of bad news, a lot of all kinds of bad stuff out there. But it's still always good to look, to look and see people like you excelling at what you do consistently. You know, just before you came on talking about people perfecting the art, and it just becomes you.
Yeah.
So, and you are almost standing alone in that. You've been a shining light for that in the UK for us. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And then now let's dissect you.
For the record.
Yes, let's dissect you for the record. And I know you've told this story several times, but you've not told it on this show. So how did you get into fashion?
Well, fashion has always been a lifelong passion.
Okay.
And it was my mother's profession as well.
Okay.
That's
Seamstress?
what she, yes.
Okay.
So I remember this image. My sister was going for this TV show. There used to be a TV show for children then, I think in the late 60s.
Back home in Nigeria?
Back in Nigeria.
Okay.
And then she was making her dress. And you remember they finished the dress, and the car took my sister to the TV studios where they would have the parties then, you know.
NTA parties.
Yes, exactly.
Love them.
So, and I remember watching my sister dancing away on TV in the same dress that I watched, you know, my mama made.
Together,
yeah, it was awesome. And so it started from there, and then we'll have all those mock fashion shows at home. And you know the story of the T-shirt.
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah, the famous T-shirt story, yeah, indeed.
And, you know, I saw this T-shirt by the shop. It was very close to the house, and I couldn't get my mind off it, and I rushed, and I was pleading and begging. I said, you have enough clothes. Your daddy buys you enough clothes and stuff. I said, no, I want this one. So she gave me the money. I went and bought it, and I came back. So she was intrigued to find out what was so special
About this T-shirt.
about this T-shirt. And just as words on the front, I'm really famous. And I was about 12 or so. And sometimes you're probably prophesying into your own life and you don't really know how much of fame. But I loved everything to do with glam and glitz and fashion. And from that early age, I was designing my clothes. You know?
For you?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, and we would have the local tailors make it for us then. But then getting to uni, I watched my first fashion show in 1981, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And meanwhile, I was in uni to study something different completely. History.
Went we all?
And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I can do with all my sketches. And by the third year, I had my first big show during Miss Campus, which was the biggest competition.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, by Scala Club. And then Robert Omole, my dear friend, we're still very good friends still, and is still a keen supporter of this vision. And he was president of Scala Club then, and he had given me the opportunity to showcase my collection during the Miss Campus Beauty
Collection?
Pageant. Yes.
Okay.
Then, you know, it was amazing, and we had all this other students who were models, and we had the show, and that was the beginning, actually. And so it started from there, and then I knew that this was the path. I just couldn't think of doing anything else.
I think in life, one of the greatest privileges anybody can have is to discover yourself early.
Oh.
In uni, while you were doing a course where you didn't really enjoy, you were actually living your life and living your dream.
Because at lectures, I'll have 2 notebooks and have a sketch pad, and I'll be taking lessons, and then I'll dream away and then do like about 5, 10 sketches, and my friends will look at me like, man, this is crazy. You know, but I couldn't help myself.
Were you earning money then?
Yes. In fact, I think I was a very comfortable student because it got to a stage.
You were not going home for your for your subvention.
Yeah, because
and who were your regular clients, typical clients?
There were students.
Girls on campus?
There were girls and guys, because I was doing talks.
Both,
We were
okay.
doing, then Adire was raining as well.
Yeah, tie and dye.
We were doing a lot of things with tie and dye, which was awesome. And then Fridays, I remember, was collection day. So I would have gone to the tailors in town. I've collected all the stuff that had been made, and people would come and be picking up. And it used to have so much money then. It was unreal, you know, for a student.
I can imagine.
You know, and my room, my corner with piles of clothes waiting for people to come and collect. There was all these things, you know, going on campus. And Ife was like a Hollywood of its own.
Oh, yes.
It afforded one that opportunity to dream, and not just
very
dream.
cosmopolitan too. People coming in from.
And we had all the stars. Remember then we had like Rita Martins, and you know she was
Joy Girl
she was
or
Miss Nigeria.
Miss Nigeria,
then. Yes, she was Miss Nigeria, and then you know Helen Press. Then
Indeed,
she had
yeah,
gone through, and so many other big people, you know, who were on campus, and you know, so the stuff was always happening. I saw Shalimar for the first time, I think, in 81 or 82.
That was when they came for
When
Ben
they
Bruce's
came.
and brought them to Nigeria. Yeah.
Yes, I think it was 81 or 82.
Yes.
And that experience still lives with you. I still remember what I was wearing, you know.
At the event.
At the event, you know. So it's amazing.
So for me, and this is now the layman me, because I remember way back in the 80s at the time, when, because then you want to make a cloth, go to your tailor. There is no, and then the term fashion designer started coming to the fore.
Yeah.
And for me, and this being honest, at the time, I couldn't, I'm thinking, what are the designers doing differently from our good old tailors, you know? But even from this conversation, you've kind of said basically what you were doing was creating the designs.
Yes.
And you got your tailor, you instruct your tailor, do it for me. How many people were doing that at the time?
That was the beginning, and I could do that because I had help.
Okay.
My mom always helped me.
Okay.
So every time I had an idea or I'd been asked to create, I remember in 87, we created the gowns with my friend Ifeanyi Okoye of Chini Fashions for Linda Chuba.
Okay.
She was representing Nigeria, I think, in Miss World or Miss Universe. We created the gowns that she wore. We created the gowns that she wore in Miss West Africa. I think she won that. And so, what if I had an idea? I'll show it to my mom, and I'll say, "How do I explain this to the tailors?" And she'll take her patterns and she'll cut miniature patterns for me. And this really helped me because by the time I got to the tailors, I was speaking so confidently because once I bring out the design and the cloth, and they were looking at like, how is, I said, no, don't worry, I've got the little pieces that will help you. So I bring out all the miniature and I explain, put A with B, put this with that, put this with that. And once you saw that, we avoided a lot of as a then. So, and then when I finished Tomife, I thought, mom is not going to be with me forever and ever, wherever I go. So I really need to learn. I served in Abeokuta, 1985. And when I got to the Ministry of Agriculture...
That was where they posted you?
Yes. No. They posted me to some school in some
in one
village.
Rural area.
And when
did you get a
when the principal turned up with a truck to pick the truck, the shop, what do you call them, the coppers?
Yes.
I looked at the truck and I said, no, I'm not going.
So you did a transfer, had a transfer?
Yes, and I packed my bags and went back to Lagos and moaned and, and calls later I ended up.
But what happened eventually?
And I had a wonderful time in Abeokuta.
Okay.
Because I got there, and within a short time, I was making stuff for everybody in the ministry, and then even people on the outside. And I found a fantastic tailor. Okay. And we worked together for years until I decided, okay, now you have to go and learn yourself.
Okay.
So that's when I ended up at the Central School of Fashion.
In the UK?
In the UK.
And that was when you now made your move to the UK?
Yes.
When was this?
And that was 87.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be 6 months, and 30-something years later, we're still learning.
and that's why I thought, this kind of conversation, I just wanted to just trace that genealogy.
Yes.
So now we're in the UK now.
Yes.
Now I remember because I came into the UK in 91, and in that zone or just after then, the three names that kept popping up, it was you.
Yes.
Adebakare,
yes.
Yemi Kosiba.
Yes.
It's like that's the trilogy right there, and I tell people that we're in 2019.
Yes.
And the three of you are still right at the top,
yes.
of your game. But go back to the 90s, and this is where the consistency element comes. I'm thinking, this. And then at some point I met you, but we'll come to that later, because I've always been a fan. I'm like, this guy is doing this thing, consistently. Now you're in the UK. Now you've left Nigeria, and you've studied. What was the fundamental change in you?
I think when I first came from Nigeria, I think in terms of ideas, they were still very Nigerish, as I would
rough
call
edges
it.
here and there.
Yeah.
Or you're not international enough.
It wasn't international enough. I remember the first year at the fashion college, every year we'd have the fashion show. And then I presented my collection, and then the principal called me and wanted to have a word. And she said...
Have a word!
And she said, great effort, but in terms of ideas, I think you need to broaden your horizons. So I would encourage you to go out more, museums, study, because what you presented, it's quite not with it. As she put it, Mrs. Wrigley.
Happening too.
It never left me. And I thought, it created something in me which was almost like a competitive edge. I thought, I am never, ever going to be upstaged, ever again.
And this was 1987, you said?
1987, yes, 88.
Were there color barriers?
No, it wasn't.
At the time?
At the time. There would be, because you wouldn't have the same opportunities as some of your counterparts. But the developing yourself and your outlook depended on how much you were willing to invest in knowledge as well and skill sets. So I then went out, and then from there I wanted to learn, and then I met, I did the first fashion show in 1988 on a boat. Yes, it was organized with my friend Dapo. We did me, and we got a boat, and we sold tickets and stuff. And then
a boat in 1987. That's not a small event.
And it was filled, you know, but people came and then we had a DJ, we had a fashion show, and that was the first time. But a lot of what I was showing were things that I had made from Nigeria and I brought over as well. And then I read about Erelu, Abiola Dosumo.
Yeah.
And then she was opening her shop on Newborn Street. And I was like,
at the time.
I was like, I'm going to work for this woman. So I started writing letters. I wrote and wrote and wrote. And then, you know, she was always very busy traveling. You know, the shop was there. I went outside the shop, saw it. I said, I am going to work in this place. And then I got the number from the manager, and I called and called and called. And one day, I called, and the manager said, you're actually in luck. She just arrived this morning. I turned up at the shop. So, and he said, okay, this young man's been writing. And she said, he invited me down to her office. She was there and all that glory, a fur coat, diamonds, everything. I was like,
very,
wow.
You know, this is me.
This is glamorous woman. So she said, what do you want? I said, I want to learn. Let me be an apprentice. I'm still in fashion college. She said, okay. So they gave me 2 days to come in, and I started working there. So we work with sales, we work downstairs. She had a design studio downstairs, the shop as well. And there was an Iranian seamstress come designer who made a lot of things for the shop too. So I would assist her and watch a lot of things that she was doing. So I learned so much. What she was doing then, Erelu Abiola Dosumo with Ashoke,
then
revolutionary. I mean, then you wouldn't think of it, but these are the things that are happening now.
They're just breaking out here.
Ashoke would have lace, would have sequins, would have stones, she would have feathers. You know, the things that she was creating evening gowns with Ashoke, selling for. I remember one actually sold for about £6,000 then, or so at the shop. So it was so revolutionary for me to see what
invaluable opportunity.
She was way ahead
of her time.
In terms of ideas.
You too.
Extremely creative. So being around her really encouraged me, and I learned to love luxury. You know, beautiful fabrics, sumptuous, rich fabrics, you know, what you could create with them, how you could dream. I remember there was a show that was being organized for, I think, the UN then or so, and models came in and they were trying all these gowns, and I just sat down there thinking, this is what I'm going to do. This is too beautiful.
So,
you know,
for the record,
yes,
your time with Erelu was when you realized, I'm going to go in luxury, the luxury end.
Yes.
It has to be, that's me.
Everything was just rich and opulent and, you know, so grand and classy. And, you know, and then she lived on Eaton Square. She had this mansion there, I mean, full of antiques. If you ever had the luxury of visiting her private club in Lagos, I mean, you wouldn't know whether you entered the Louis the Palace
or the Louvre
or the Louvre or something, you know, because she just been that kind of person who is so, you know, really elegant and, you know, with a passionate taste for life and luxury. So that really helped me, and then I began to move that way because then my thinking was formed and I couldn't move from there. So then came...
Best decision at the time?
Absolutely. But it was tough because then...
You have to live up to it.
We didn't have social media. We didn't have no Facebook, no mobile phones, no nothing. So
word of mouth, that was it.
Word of mouth. And then to get press, you had to meet people or you had to pay
for it.
And because you didn't have the money to pay, it meant you had to learn how to kind of hustle people in a very decent way. Writing letters. I remember when Michael Iboda was editor of New Nation, and I found out who he was. My gosh, he received so many calls and letters.
And jackets.
And then, you know, I said, you need to feature me. And then when they did...
How important is that?
2 pages in New Nation. It was amazing.
Because the thing is, you realize that your fundamental skill is the designing.
Exactly.
But then the other skills you need to have
to
absolutely. Excel, like now you're talking media now. That's a different...
a people person. You have to learn how to be pleasant. You have to learn how to be courteous. You have to learn how to maintain relationships and be very loyal as well. To genuinely care for people, to call them outside of when whether or not you needed a favor or anything, just to maintain good friendship. So that was really, really, that's why when we had the 50th birthday
Yes. That was an awesome
party,
event.
it was very limited, but I had to pick, and every single person in there
Had purpose.
had contributed something to my life.
Mm.
Sherry Dixon was there. She
Mhm.
was the editor of Pride magazine. I knew her from 1990, but then she was beauty,
Mm.
and then she moved into fashion, and then she gave me 6 pages, you
Wow.
know, in Pride magazine then, which was quite explosive. That was the cover, 1999, the cover with Tyrese
Yeah,
on
Gibson,
the
yeah.
cover. And you know, every single publication that I've ever been featured in, I have till now at least 4 fresh copies unopened. So every ovation, every magazine, every newspaper, I would get copies
Let's
and
talk
just filed
Ovation,
it.
actually, which is our own,
Yes.
our them, because Ovation was revolutionary in
It
Nigeria.
was incredible.
You know, a magazine dedicated to style, Nigerian style,
Yes.
pomp, pageantry. So that really is.
It was incredible. I could not even begin to tell you or quantify how much Chief Dele Momodu was instrumental to this journey, because I was introduced to him.
Shout out to Chidele Momodu if you're watching.
Shout
now.
out. He's an incredible
He's an
man.
unbelievable man, yeah.
Very selfless, very supportive, and I mean, the kind of support I've received from him. And to know that I can pick the phone anytime, call, and he always answers and is ready to assist and
Another
support you.
skill set there, right there.
It's incredible. So I had been introduced, I think, by a friend, Nii Shodunke introduced me to him, and said, oh, great. So he loves good quality images.
No.
If you want to win
look
his
at
heart,
Ovation now. Just show him something
if you
and leave
want
the
to
rest to
win
him.
his
Yeah.
heart, give him
Quality.
quality. And so we sent in some pictures. I'd just done a show at the Fashion Cafe. Naomi Campbell,
Yeah.
the cafe.
All the right names
there,
too.
All the right names too. So he loved it. He did a full page, and the awareness started. And then there was New Nation. But Dele Momodu, oh my gosh. Then I organized the shoot at the Bulgarian embassy in Queensgate. And I had Patti Boulay, I had my late friend Katusha, I had Trudy Jagannath Sharma, I had the late Sally Familo as well, the actress. She passed from cancer. And I had all these really top glamorous women, and I organized this photo shoot. And I went to Chief and I put the pictures down, bam. And those were a couple of pages, and Katusha was on the cover. That was the first time, you know, they put like a fashion model, because then it was always about the dignitaries.
Indeed, yeah.
As well. And that was incredible. And, you know, it just started to rise, and I would go to Nigeria, do shows, and then all the newspapers, there were interviews, but everything was still, because
Unrolling.
we didn't have all the social media stuff.
That was the,
And
that was the
then-
social media at the time.
And then, you know, it moved on, and I was in Lagos for Senator Florence.
Itagiwa.
She was 60 then.
Okay.
Lagbaja was, you know, playing and stuff. And I saw Ruth Osime. And Ruth said, oh, hi, Adebayo. I said, how are you, Ruth? I haven't seen you in a long time. She said, we're going to do a show. You must be part of it. I said, it will be a pleasure. So the next I knew, the T.Y. Bello
Yeah.
was in London, and she had been sent to take my pictures. So
Fantastic
I was even
photographer
at
as
the
well.
studio, and she took the pictures there. And then we turned up in Nigeria for the show, and on the day, that's when I saw the cover. On the day of the show, it was a Sunday. I was with Diola Sego, Dakova, and another, I think Folake as well, were on the cover. And then there was my smiley face, King of Couture. You know, they had been using that term.
But that was
before.
when it was fully stamped.
It was stamped.
But you are, really.
And I was like, wow. You know, so we did the show, and things just went, you know, there. And I think it's vital that as much as possible, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. Just be nice. Treat people the way you want to be treated as well.
With respect.
And do your work diligently, you know. It's not always easy, but being steadfast and being committed, it goes a long way.
Can that be the difference between stardom and superstardom?
Yes. You know, I gave a talk. I'm not a preacher, but I gave like a talk in the church on Sunday, and they asked me to talk to the youth about purpose, inspire and achieve, and that was what I did Sunday morning. But the talk was not just for the young; it was also for, the middle-aged. And as long as we're alive, we're all still young. And it says, I read something once, and it says, the first enemy of success is success. And I was like, this is a deep one. The first enemy of success is success. So that means as much as it can give you, it can take even much more. As much as fame and all this glory and everything can give, it can destroy as well, easily, if you are diverted from your focus and your vision. And so you always have to try as much as possible, particularly the young, to be grounded and not be swayed away by the bright lights of what you see. So when someone comes and they say that, oh, I want to be a fashion designer, and the first thing I want to say, why do you want to be a fashion designer? If it's bright lights, fame, money, if things don't go the way they planned, it could be a tough one to handle. But if it's you find that it's your dream, your calling, your purpose, and then that is what helps you withstand every obstacle that you ever come across.
And they will come.
You will have, oh yes, it's life. You see, the beautiful thing about God is you decided to do what you are pursuing because you caught a glimpse of the end of the journey. And so, in my perception, God shows you the end, a glorious end, and that's what you see, which is what gets you motivated to start. But you don't get all the instructions in the middle. Because if you did and you saw everything you would pass through, you wouldn't start. You'll be overwhelmed. But then to understand that every time you get a knock, you get up because you have a picture of this goal that you're trying to achieve. And you get up and then he says, okay, go to the next station, I'll give you the next instruction. But for every time you want to rise, you have to battle. So you battle the giant, you overcome, you cross to the other side, and you go again. And at the next stage of promotion, you battle the giant. There are always giants at every level. And that is where your resilience, your strength, your focus, determination, and your tenacity to withhold that vision and to say, nothing will move me from this path. Because that picture I saw, I must get there.
Wow. I'm going to bottle that and put it in the bottle that I'm putting.
You did it. You are the most successful.
No, you're too kind. I'm going to bottle that and put it in the fridge. And you've creatives, it's eras.
Yes.
And some say it's even cyclic.
Yes.
So what was fashionable 60 years ago can go and come back again.
Oh, yes.
But you've moved through quite a few eras.
Yes.
Some people don't survive beyond an era. Yes. So what is the greatest challenge of moving from eras to eras? Now we've talked about Ovation magazine, which was in Nigeria at the time was the #1 focal point for all this. Now we have so many other platforms, on social media. Ovation is on social media as well. So different eras, and you're still as and even more relevant.
Yes.
What is the secret to that?
I think that the first thing is, one, to be true to yourself. What do you love? Because you're an extension. We chatted earlier and you mentioned Karl Lagerfeld.
Yes.
And he had...
unbelievable man. I see a lot of you in him as well. It's like almost like...
you just have to be yourself. And it got to a point I thought, you know what, at this stage, I have to be myself. I want to wear a brooch, I wear a brooch.
You gave me a brooch, remember? My first...
I hope you still kept it.
I've got it, and I think I've worn it twice. Because you also have to carry it.
Yes, of course.
And you have to be comfortable. And I've had my struggles, because I'm a very, very dressed down casual guy. But as I rose in this game, I realized that, Abass, you need to be doing certain things, you need to be looking in a certain way, and I borrow a leaf from you when I do a lot of that.
And that's the amazing thing, because you have to be true to yourself. What you create is an extension of who you are on the inside. You're only translating from the pictures that you see. And so I believe that when it gets to a point, you understand that fashion is not strictly about entertaining on the runway. You have to create clothes that are wearable, that are versatile, they're functional, they're practical, and that people can use and will really endure the physical wear and seasonal changes in fashion. Because every season they come and say, this is what's in vogue this season, that's what's in vogue this season, this is what's in vogue this season. And so if you are going to limit what you create to strictly what is there, that means those things do not endure. But if you take aspects of it, of the seasonal trends, and then you infuse with your own thought and originality, because, like, you are a summation of everything that has formed you from when you were a child. When you were born, you were blank, a blank canvas, and then images, experiences, things you saw, movies, pictures, food, culture, begin to shape who you become. And these are the things that become the wealth that you draw upon. So if the mind is not rich or the experiences are not rich, then you don't have a lot of wealth for you to pull. And what you're going to do basically is just to copy from influences. But if you have a bit of depth, and I love to study, I watch documentaries, I would watch the great masters, watch their stories.
You love Nollywood too.
Read, and Nollywood as well. And so you learn and you see. There was a documentary on the last collection of Yves Saint Laurent. I must have watched it about 15 times now.
You pick something every time you watch it again.
Yeah, because it's like in parts 1 to 10
okay.
or so. And then what made him great? I want to know. How did he do his patents? I want to know. What kind of fabrics? What made him
make your own
famous?
fabrics?
Yeah.
I was going to come
so
to
you
I
learn,
read that as well, yeah.
So you learn from all those people, and then those become the influences you draw upon. And then, because I love luxury, I always infuse that. And I remember what I told you after the chat with the principal in 88, never ever to be offstaged. So that became like
a competitive
my
element as well,
yes. In a positive way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I would never go out and be bitchy and be nasty or whatever. But
which happens in the industry too.
Oh, yeah. But then I would always make
Have you ever
sure
had to
that I hold my own and I never go back home with my head
down.
Down like, oh dear, I didn't do my best. Never. So when I turn up for a show, I'm turning up for a show. From shoes to jewelry to bags to accessories, everything I consult. I have teams of people who design all those things for me. Tell them what I want, they create them. So when I pull them together with the clothes and we create the styling, because I have a picture in my mind and I want to see every model turn up in that picture, then I know, my job's done because this is pleasing.
If you became a course,
Yes.
say Adebayo Jones was a course in university,
Yes.
how long will it take to study?
Oh dear. It'll take a while.
Because it's ongoing too.
Yes. Professionally, it will take a while because it's like you just mentioned, 30-something years, of doing this,
Still at it.
And still at it. And then I'm a bit of a complex person because I'm so introverted away from the limelight.
You have to be that unique as well.
Yeah. You need that balance. You can't be on the buzz
Non-stop.
non-stop. You must have something that's helping you. And it's probably most of the time not healthy, whatever it is.
In the industry.
in the industry. So it's a bit of that. But I love quality time with the people that I cherish and I hold very dear. I have very few good friends and contacts, and I value them. And then you meet new ones along the way, but you must always maintain relationships, which is, an asset if you can.
Fashion and identity.
Yes.
Because in the last, I'm sure you're very much within this call to this new renaissance of this whole the African. It's like it's like the whole world is just waking up to African culture. Fashion, music, food.
Exactly.
So what you wear says a lot about you.
Absolutely.
So how would you relate, fashion and identity in the African sense?
Well, it's amazing to see how far we've come. Nigerians love fashion. When anything's new, it's out, no matter how expensive. They are some of the first people to acquire it. They spend a fortune, even here in England and all over the world, with fashion. But then the identity was always lost, really, in name brands. You see, and there is a way that you should not really be overpowered in terms of your individuality with name brands. What these things are supposed to do is to add to the elements of the summation of who you are. So I believe that style evolves gradually. When you find your comfort zone, as you get older, you know what works and what you can carry confidently. Because they say confident radiates. When you look good, you feel good, you look in the mirror, you feel fabulous.
Extra
you
bounce in
carry
your step.
yourself
Yeah.
differently. There's a kind of confidence and a stride, a bounce that happens when people know that. And so now the whole world, it's been happening before. The designers would come, they'll take the international houses, take influences from Africa, whether the Maasai, whether, from West Africa, East Africa, and use it in what they do. We have a brand now, the Africana,
Yes.
by Adebayo Jones, because I watched the video of Dior, the Cruise Summer 2020 collection, and they've gone and carried some of the best, wax prints designers from Ivory Coast and all those places, created the collections for them.
Culture appropriation?
And then I'm thinking, and then people were up in arms with Stella McCartney.
Exactly, yeah. With the Ankara,
with the Ankara
India,
dress
yeah.
being sold at 1,200. And I was like, well, you can't get angry with her. It's not peanuts to have a store in Harrods, I think
Exactly,
it
yeah.
was, And then if you guys have it and you're not doing it, somebody else will. And everybody recognizes what's there. So they might, because if we're to say, this Ankara cloth itself, it's not purely original to Nigeria, it's African cloth.
Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, so we kind of,
Borrowed it, yeah.
embraced it.
Borrowed and embraced
it
it, yeah.
became a staple because it was suitable for the
Yeah.
tropics. And now, so because if we say, oh, nobody should touch this, then we shouldn't be working with wools and patterns
Exactly, yeah.
and all other things
Linens and all of that, yeah.
linens that were invented by other people as well and mastered by them. So it's just a case of people see influences and they want to tap into it. And when there's a market and money, like with us, they go for it. Because you'll be amazed, I could have my own and Stella McCartney, and some Nigerian would come, I'm buying Stella McCartney.
And that was the next question I was coming to now. It's a no-brainer. You're an achiever. It's a no-brainer. But have you at any point ever had to been viewed differently as kind of like below in this land? This is coming from our own people right now, who perhaps want to deal with foreign designers. Have you ever find yourself in a situation where they kind of like saw you below any of the foreign brands, or at any point?
Can I share something crazy? You make an outfit for someone, so they go out, and somebody comes over to them and says, that is a fabulous outfit.
Who made it?
Oh no, I bought it. Oh, from who? Valentino. And then they come to tell you because they think they're doing you
A favor.
a favor.
Mindset problem.
Yes. That, they love that outfit. And I told them it was by Valentino, so that means you did a great job. I said, no, it would have been better if you told them it was me, because I could have gotten another commission
Exactly,
from that, And for what we do, it's not for want of ability or creativity. It's just a difference in the resources that the houses have to play with. Someone who probably has 20, 30 million to produce a collection, and then you who has to work with the budgets of what you find. But it still doesn't disturb you being able to produce goods that are high quality, very well tailored, beautiful fabrics, with nicely skilled technicians who would produce the same quality as some of these fashion houses. So you find that. And then the other thing as well is being branded in a box. So the luxury thing has worked for and against, because then I've heard it a few times as well. People say, oh, I want to go to Adebayo Jones to get, and they're like, hey, 1 month salary, you know. I'm like, where did this come from? So you have this perception that you are unapproachable because you only make things for the rich,
Is it a
the
good
bling
problem?
Nigerians.
The bling, or the bling Lagosians? Is it a good problem to have, though, at times?
Yeah, that's why I said it's a blessing and
And
not
it,
a
it can be a
blessing.
curse at times.
Because you're being put on this pedestal that people are too scared to come near you. Thank God for your faithfuls who would always be back. But then, based on what everybody thinks that you are,
Worth.
you can't,
yeah.
you know, be approached because you're just going to be too expensive, which is a misconception. So we decided to have the diffusion, which is the Africana. And then let's put that online and say, see, we're affordable, you know, and then pray that it still goes.
And a lot of the big brands have had to do that at different points
course.
as well. You know, have a collection for, and one has to word this carefully now, have a more affordable collection for the mass market.
Of course.
And how's that going? How's that kicking?
Yeah, so now we launched that in Canada a year ago, and then we just showed the second collection, and then we added the menswear.
Okay.
The suits. Which
I was going to come to that as well. Like,
so
how do people generally describe? You know what you are, but do they say,
Yeah.
oh, he makes clothes for men and women, or he makes more for women?
No, because they didn't know that.
But he makes for himself.
I studied tailoring.
Okay.
As well.
Okay. Later.
No, when I was in fashion college, because you do menswear, you do women's wear.
Okay.
So I could do both, and up till the age of like I think 38, practically everything I wore I made. You know, so. But the women's wear always got the limelight, and this year, and when we would go to Toronto every year, the male models would come, Mr. Jones, anything for us? And I promised them for 7 years. So this year I said, nah, I can't turn up there and look at them in the face. We have to produce a collection for them. And
is it going to be part of the Africana collection?
Yes.
Okay.
So there was a lot of buzz about that, and we put in some elements of bling as well on some of them. Because I wanted people to be able to use these things for red carpet.
It's like you have my script here, because I thought today we're going to do a special and it could be an hour or an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
We're not far off again.
Okay.
So you've talked about red carpet. In the last 10 years, it's like the Nigerian African red carpet scene has exploded now.
Oh, wow.
People go out, you know, people actually now say, okay, now I'm going to this event. I need to look in a certain way. And that pretty much falls right into your category. People, you want to come and make a statement, you know, then you need to go to certain people. And that kind of like falls in your, how would you describe that market now and your position in that market?
I hope I still get as much likes when I finish with this particular question, because it's a beautiful thing. Look at, in terms of makeup alone.
Yes.
Before, you were going to a party, you carry your pancake and then
do your thing.
And when we say pancake, we make
we know,
we call it, in case we have foreigners watching. And then, you know, but now everybody or almost has a makeup artist booked, you know, for when they're going somewhere special at hand, you know, because the people are now so particular about perceptions of how they're seen. Everybody wants to make a statement, you want to make an appearance, you want to look fabulous. And then the same thing with the clothes. But now there's a certain kind of drive in the industry, and that is, it's become a little bit free-for-all. In the sense
inevitable,
that,
kind of.
Yeah, in the sense that, okay, we understand, okay, celebrities also are business people, so they propose, you know, fashion for them as some of the investments. So they sit with a team, and the team curates. So they go there, they look at what they like, they pick, and it's branded, and, you know, they use their names, and the celebrities sell those things. Now, it's quite different now, because we have so many people on the bandwagon. So, you know,
is the essence being lost at some point?
Yes, and no. And because I believe, okay, fine, you may not necessarily be trained, you may have an idea or interest in fashion. You are therefore a fashion entrepreneur. You have people who invest in fashion. Being a fashion entrepreneur does not make you a designer. And that's where the term is used quite loosely these days. So somebody wakes up tomorrow, decides, you know what, I'm starting a label, and then they become a designer. You know, can you make patterns? Can you cut? Can you sketch? Can you, those things may be lacking, you can develop on it. But then it's sometimes the arrogance of those who don't know, refuse to learn.
And they have enough noise around them.
Exactly. And use resources. And then you watch and think, what on earth is going on here? Because I couldn't possibly wake up and call myself an architect tomorrow, or a dentist, or a doctor. But then
is that a problem with social media now?
It is.
The entry points are quite weak and blurred.
Yeah, now. So you have to be able to hold your own. And it's very easy. You sit down with a copy of Vogue and Tatler and Elle and stuff, and you're picking blouses and skirts and trousers and whatever, and creating something wonderful if it works for you. But then, when you talk about knowledge and skill set of this industry, we trained for it. We know what we're doing. We can talk, passionately and technically about it as well. And that makes a big difference. So when you find a lot of noise and buzz, if you were to turn these garments in and out,
that's where you
might be horrified at what you find.
And that's where the difference is.
Exactly.
And that's where you leave it before they jump on you.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you want to do fashion, by all means, if you feel led to it, please proceed. There's big enough space for everybody.
And finally, movies and music.
Yes.
Another industry that's kind of exploded. You watch a lot of movies.
I do.
And I'm sure you keep an eye on costuming.
Oh yes, I do.
For movies. If you were commissioned, let's pick one film, Wedding Party.
Yes.
Say Wedding Party 1.
Yeah.
If you were commissioned and say, you know what, Adebayo Jones, we're shooting this film, Wedding Party, and we want you to be the creative costume consultant for this.
Right.
What would you do differently? And this is not knocking Wedding Party in any way, but what would you do differently? Or is there a need right now for people like you in the fashion industry to kind of lend your expertise to some of these trades?
Absolutely. I thought the costumes in the Wedding Party were
awesome,
quite lovely.
Indeed, yeah.
Very, very awesome, beautiful stuff. That I can't remember who the stylist was, but they did a brilliant job. And then the designers are needed more and more in ventures like this, because when you're commissioned, you get given the script. Yes. Then you read about the characters, and then you understand and in depth, about these personalities that you're trying to get you, and then that way you can pull in all the right ideas into creating the costumes that are suited to those particular characters. So the designers are needed, and I think probably what's been happening in a lot of the Nollywood productions, they have, I don't know how
budget issues at times.
Yes,
yeah.
How much training those people have, and they just pull in things, and sometimes I've been horrified at things I've seen, some of the actors have put in. It's not their own choice, and then it's like, oh my gosh, this is not appropriate, for particular things. But if they had more trained minds involved in some of these bigger ventures like the movies, it would go a long way. It would make a big difference, I believe. So I think it should be something that should be reviewed, rather than, I know they would probably say budget constraints or so, but those things have, why, look at what was the movie, the Wakanda movie?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. Look at the costumes.
That's like a $250 million budget.
Exactly.
They can do whatever they want.
They can do whatever they want. But it still takes a brilliant mind.
Indeed, though.
Yeah. To be able to create.
It's created brilliant images that would in fact, a lot of the merchandising is on the back of the costuming, really.
Exactly. It's the importance could not be overlooked. You remember Eddie Murphy?
Yes, it's coming back. It's coming.
Coming to America.
2 is coming out now.
Are you serious?
Yes, it's coming out. They're working on it as we speak.
I remember watching it.
Look at that, the jackets and...
Yeah, I think that was, in 80s.
80s, it's 78 or thereabout.
Yeah.
Or 84 actually, it's much earlier.
80s, yeah, very middle 80s or so. And look at this. If you
then
look
and
back
now.
Then, and when you still look at those, the movies
classy.
now, it's like, wow.
Fit, yeah.
They did a brilliant job, you know.
Very, very,
you
indeed.
Know, a lot of fashion, a lot of comedy, you know.
The perfect mix.
So that was, it makes a big difference when you have the right minds, you know. It's the same like what you do. Someone does a brilliant job. They've created a movie, they've worked hard, they spent money, and they want to market and promote and launch it. So they come to you.
Make noise for them.
Yeah. And imagine, you know, a non-competent person telling them, yeah, I know what to do. And then because when you produce a launch of a movie, it's packed. I could never see an invitation from you and think, oh, is it going to be nice or whatever? I would honor it because it's coming from you, because you're good at your game. And that's the same kind of thing, isn't it? If you have the right people manage stuff, because that means you get excellent results.
On that nice end, I'm going to just end it right there. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And what I've always wanted to do as well was just to document you.
Thank you.
That because I see you on other places, and I'm going to do better than you people. I'm just going to put something when they say, do you know Adebayo Jones? Go and watch this. And I think we've been able to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
My
sir.
pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, always a pleasure. And I'm going to be giving details of some premieres coming up anyway.
Hey,
there you go. It's been another fantastic edition of For the Record, and it's been an honor sitting down with Mr. Adebayo Jones. And like I said, now we have his bio, his official visual bio. See you same time next week. Stay tuned.
Okay, so when you're not designing, what are you busy doing?
Wow. It would be a wonderful opportunity if I got the time to relax. And for that, I would like to watch movies. You know, I like to read as well. I love traveling. And you'll be amazed some people don't. You know, and it's and music for me, it's so therapeutic. And I kind of disturb my neighbors, you know, because I love my classical music, my opera and stuff and all different types, and I'm turning up loud, and you know, they're probably wondering what on earth is that man playing, you know. So those are all the different ways that I tend to relax, you know, and I love dining out too.